Hello, welcome to Google Basics. My name is Nicole Combs. This is a little bit about me. I have been teaching for 5 years, and this coming school year will be the start of my year 6 at Lockford School. And I started with 6th grade my first year, and then went on to 8th grade, which I never planned to do, but I really love it. And the next year I'm going down to 7th grade, and I'm going to be teaching math and science. I have 2 credentials, one in general education, multiple subjects, and the other one in education, special education, mild mod with an autism authorization. I am a TIPS mentor, a site tech lead, and I am in charge of student council and student activities. And for a fun fact, I like to paint. So let's get started. So I'm going to show you how to be most successful with all of the Google applications that we have available in our district. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you are signed on to your teacher account on your teacher laptop. So the way you're going to do that, you can go through Citrix, but I don't recommend that. So we're going to skip to this part. So you come up here, and I'm already signed in, but it's going to ask you to sign in, and you put in your .org. This is really important. You have 2 different email addresses in our district. You have your lodiusd.net, which is your kind of more your .org is for Google, and your .net is for everything else, I guess you could say. And your students can easily email you at your .org. So you're going to sign in using your .org for everything Google. And so you're going to sign with your .org and then your Citrix password. So you would have set that up. And then you'll sign in. And if you have bookmarks already, then you can link those and have it all set up for yourself. If not, you can just get started on that. So this is the part I was talking about the link data that will add all of your bookmarks that you could potentially already have. And then it'll give you this lodiusd.org bookmarks. That's nice because it will give you links to your email and other different things that you might need. So this is what it'll look like if you're logging in on a Chromebook. You are still going to use your .org and then your Citrix password, and everything will come up automatically. This is a clever student portal, so I'll show you mine. So this is my Clever portal, and I have my favorites here. These are the apps I usually use, and then there's the other ones from the district. Some of these I made myself, and then I also have my own page, which you can make yourself as well. And I have it all organized per the subjects that I teach. And I can add more at any time. And then over here, I get to see students that are logged in currently. Why don't you want to go forward? All right, so I had to switch over to a different presentation. So we're going to move on. So this is the same thing I just showed you. And then this is accessing your Citrix outside of Citrix. Basically, if you need to get in, there's only a few things that you really need to go into Citrix for, and then you can go from Aries to get into Aries to take attendance and whatnot, your email, and the district website. So those are all for the load I use bookmarks. So this is what we have. It's called the G Suite for Education, and it comes with all of these things. And we have more allowances than you normally would have with a free version. Um, and we have, I think, unlimited space, if I remember correctly, which is really nice because you're going to accumulate a lot of stuff. So in the G Suite, you have Google Docs, Google Sheets, Slides, Forms, Sites, and Classroom. And then on top of that, you have Gmail, Google Calendar, and Google Hangouts, which is where you can like message your students and video chat with them, which is nice for distance learning. When you want to access these, you can go to each one specifically by typing in the name of it first and then .google.com, and it'll take you right there. That's not my preference. I don't think that going to each one individually is the fastest way to do things and to keep things organized. But that's just my opinion. I like Drive. Drive to me is like the best thing ever because it is an organizational tool. That's what it's for. So when you go to your Drive, you're going to have access to all the things, not just, the docs or not just the slides or whatever. So you can click on, I think they call this a 9-pad, and you can click on this to get access to all of these at any time. So you basically, I'll show you. You'd open up a new tab and it's right here. So you click on it and you could go to any of these things that you want to go to. So that's nice. Okay, so Google Drive. I don't really think that this is the most helpful thing for you, so I'm just going to show you mine and you can learn with me. So this is my personal teacher Google Drive, and you can see all the folders I have here. I practice really strict digital hygiene, meaning all of my stuff online is very, very hyper organized, at least in my opinion. It could probably be more organized, but so everything is in folders. And then even my school email is really clean too. I have everything put in the trash if I don't need it. I have an important folder for emails that I don't necessarily want in my inbox, but I want to keep them. And I clean out my trash at the end of every year, which may or may not be a good idea, but I can't stand looking at all those numbers. It's a thing. So you can have folders within folders. So as you can see, I have a ton of folders. And to me, this is just the only way to make it work. So when you want to create new things, you come over here to where it says new. You can create a new folder. You can file upload. So that's like if you want to upload one thing from your computer that's actually like on your computer hard drive onto your drive, which I highly recommend because you never know if something happens to your computer and you lose everything, that would be terrible. So you can upload things one file at a time, or a couple files at a time, or you can upload whole folders at a time. So if you want to put everything that you have into one folder and then upload that folder, you can do that too. And then here is where you would create things. So you can create a docs, a sheet, a slide, and then all of these different things here. You may or may not have all these things. I obviously use this quite a bit. And then I'm going to walk you through using each of these things. So first is docs. You will be thankful for yourself if you put in a title every single time you make one of these, just because it helps you keep yourself organized. The last thing you want is to search for something and have like 50 untitled documents in your drive. So once you get in here, a couple useful things. This functions mainly as your Microsoft Word would, but if you want to download, you can download into these different formats. If you make something like a hyperdoc and it has links built into it, you can still download that as a PDF to give to your students, and the links are still clickable, which is really cool. I think that's really nice. And then you can also download it as a Microsoft Word document, and then you can send that to your colleagues because not everybody uses Google Docs, and so they may not be able to, like if you share it with them, they may not be able to access it because they don't know how. So if you want to, you can download it like that. You can email it as an attachment. You can make it available offline. So this is nice for the fact that you have a teacher Chromebook. And if you make documents available offline, you can type on things on your Chromebook, and then once you get back to Wi-Fi, it'll all upload instantly. Version history. This is very important, especially if you're looking at a student's document, because it never fails that you'll have a student that says, oh, well, I did all this work and now it's just gone. If you go into the version history, it'll be there, whatever they did. And if it's not there, 9 times out of 10, they didn't do it in the first place and they're trying to pull your leg. So that's a really, really good one. And that's even nice, if you, went in a certain direction and you're like, no, I don't like that. I want to go back to how it was before. You can go all the way back to the version you want and then like reload that, and then you'll have a new version. You can move things around within your drive. So if it's in one folder or not in a folder and you want to move it into a folder, you can do that. You can add it as a shortcut to your drive. That's nice if you're looking at somebody else's document and you want to add it to your drive, you can do that. And then sharing, you can type in the .org of maybe a colleague or a student or somebody and then share it with them. And then you can give them editing rights or just rights to view the document. So that's really nice too. See if I touched on things here. Okay, so going back here, if you notice, all of these are colored for me. And I did that because, I mean, for one, it makes things a little bit prettier, but it can kind of help you keep organized too. So it's these little file folders. You can change the color by right-clicking and then change color. And then you can change the color. Something that comes in handy is to search. So you could search for things within your, it might help if I typed in everything. Within what you have, and it'll pop up everything with the keyword that you have. And you can do who the owner is, the location, which could be anywhere, visible to anyone in low.usd. So that comes in handy. I've used that quite a few times. I showed you sharing files. Sharing folders. So when you collaborate with your colleagues, you may want to share a folder with them. So for example, this one right here is shared with people. So you can right click and share with people. So as you can see, this is shared with other people and they are editors. So I showed you how to make a new document. Let me see if I missed anything here. So you have your menu bar, your toolbar, which has all the tools that you need. Not maybe as many as Microsoft Word, but basically it'll get you by. The main difference I've noticed is the amount of fonts that are available. Comments. Ooh, that's a good one. So let's say I, start typing things as a student, and you, as my teacher, are like, I don't really like what you're doing here. You can so what I did was I double clicked on this word, and then this little dude pops up over here. It says add a comment, and then you can say whatever you want, and then comment it, and then your students have the ability to see what you had to say. So this is really nice for giving feedback on a document instead of writing over it or writing within the document in red or something like that. You just leave a comment, and then if you don't like what you said, you can edit it, or you can delete it, or or let's say you're making a suggestion and the student fixed whatever it is that you suggested, they can just resolve the comment and then it goes away. You can change people's ability. So like, let's say if this is a student's document and you're the teacher, you can come over here to suggesting, and edits become suggestions. So I could do like that. And then instead of me just typing it, now it's green and it says I'm telling you to add the word there. So that can be really nice too, instead of you having to do it all yourself. And then there's viewing. So this would be if you wanted to give somebody, like, to be able to look at it, but you don't want them to type anything, you would put it in viewing mode. And then editing is obviously to edit to the document as it is. So before, like a year ago, our district had the ability to download tools and add-ons, and that was a pretty nice thing to do. You go to manage add-ons and look for things like Easybib, but they've kind of controlled what kind of add-ons we can get, so you're not going to be able to get everything you want anymore. But in tools, you have your spelling and grammar check. You can also download the Grammarly. This little do right here shows up right here, the Grammarly extension, and that adds itself to just about everything you're working on in Google Chrome, and it will check your spelling and grammar, and it's super helpful. But you do have a spelling and grammar checker within Docs. You do have the word count, and you have a dictionary built in, which you could highlight a word and then define and do things like that too. Voice typing. This is really nice, and I encourage you to allow your students, particularly the younger ones that are not very good at typing yet, allow them to use voice typing. So basically they'll talk into their Chromebook and it will type out for them what they are saying. And then you can have them go back and edit it or whatnot. But that's a nice feature. That's also a nice feature for students that have disabilities that may have trouble with typing because of motor skills or whatever their issue might be. That's really helpful too. And then there are accessibility settings that you can look into as well. So like screen magnifier if you have visually impaired students. I did mention the add-ons, but like I said, we are kind of restricted now. So you can kind of look at it and see what's available, like what you can get. Easybib, if you're an English teacher, you might, maybe if you're kind of like old school, you might be irritated with this a little bit, but Easybib is available for students to use to help them with their resource page. So just be aware of that. I think it's a great thing, but that's just me, I guess. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to show you, I think. Insert. So you can insert images and you can search from the web right here. So that picture of the bird made me think of it. So you can select an image and insert it right there and it'll do it for you. I think, I don't know, I think that's really quite a useful little trick. You can also insert a table, so you can make it however big you need it. There. There's the drawing feature, chart feature, special characters. So if you need accented letters or things like that, if you need certain equations, you can use the buttons that they provide for you, which is nice if you're making a math document. They do have headers and footers, but I don't really feel like they work as well, in my personal opinion, as Microsoft Word. It's just a little bit more wonky. Page numbers, link. So if you want to link this word and have, when you click on it, have it go somewhere else, you right click and then click on link, and then you can type in or paste in a link right there and apply it, and it'll make it a hyperlink like that. I think that I use that feature quite often. All right. Moving on to slides. So I'm going to go back to my drive and I'm going to delete that because I don't need it. And I'm going to create a slideshow. So again, in my personal opinion, I feel that Google Slides is not as personalized, I guess, as PowerPoint is, especially like in the theme department. Their themes are very, very simple and straightforward and limited. Yes, you can go find themes elsewhere, but it's just like extra work. If you don't want a theme and you just want like a background color, you come up here to background and you can change the color, you can choose image, and that allows you to search from Google right here as well, which is a nice little feature, although not all the pictures like look good when they get pasted in there, and usually you can't resize them. And then you can add it to the theme. So if you want the same picture on every single slide or the same color for every single slide, you add to the theme, and then that will copy to every slide that you make. If you don't like how this is, you go up here to layout and you can pick any layout that is available here. Theme again is over here, and then transition. These are like in PowerPoint where you have all the fancy things that happen when you go from one slide to the next, or have like pictures pop in or whatever. That's where all these, that's where this lives. But again, they don't have as many options as PowerPoint does, which is kind of what you get when you have a free product. But that being said, your teacher laptop should come with Microsoft Office built in. It may not have the newest version of Microsoft Office. See, I have 2013, but I have everything in there that I need to make things. But if you go into Citrix, I do believe that Citrix has a much newer version because they don't have to pay for the license to put it on every single computer because it's like an online computer situation. I can show you that later. Let me see. So same thing, I actually just learned this myself not that long ago. You can download as a PDF and then it just is like pictures basically, instead of like presenting it or having it look like this type situation. You can import slides from other slideshows. You can make a copy of the entire presentation or selected slides. This is nice if you want to, like if somebody sends you their slideshow and you want to keep it, you can make a copy for yourself and then you can change it yourself. That's really quite nice. So paste means you're going to paste something as it is from wherever it's coming from, and then paste without formatting means it's going to paste, but it's going to paste with the formatting of whatever you have on here already, which is usually the option you're going to want. So same thing, image from the computer, text box. Word art, this is not like word art in PowerPoint or Microsoft Word. This word art is very, very straightforward. And there's not a lot of fun things you can do with the word art here. So if you want to make something that's like really bright and fun and stuff like that, I recommend that you ask technology to put this on here on your computer publisher. That one is going to give you a lot more freedom and options and stuff. But for just simple things, then this works just fine. There is one thing I want to show you on here. Pear Deck. So I'm not going to go into like a whole thing on Pear Deck, but Pear Deck is super, super cool if you are willing to put in the time to make it. So you get to do all these things and make like an interactive slideshow, and then you start the lesson like here with your students, and then they can interact with your slideshow and you get to see what they did, and it's like a whole thing. So like you can do draggables, and you can have like different colors or different shapes or whatever, and you can give them all these draggables, and then they drag it onto the slide for wherever you want things to go. And I don't know, I geek out over it. It's like the coolest thing, but it is, you know, it is work, so you have to like really want to do it. Oh, you can insert video. Where did I see that? Oh, insert. That makes sense. Insert videos from YouTube. So you can search things up in YouTube and then kind of embed it in your slideshow, and it'll play from within your slideshow. And sometimes that's kind of like a little wonky, but for the most part, it works out pretty good. So this one has to do with order. So I think it would be easiest for me to show you this one that I made. So this is my Bitmoji Classroom, and this is like the coolest thing that I, you know, again, obviously I geek out over these kinds of things, but so you can order the placement of things. So obviously this little tiger guy right here is in front of this table. And so what you do is you would right click and you go to order, and you would say bring to the front or send backwards or send all the way to the back or whatnot. So usually you have to think about layering. So like you'd want your background to be all the way in the back and then build things on top of that. So then I have, you know, this bookshelf, which would be a second layer. And then this little Google Classroom icon is the third layer. And then, you know, this chair is the second layer. And then my Bitmoji is the third layer, things like that. Also, you can flip things around. So this Bitmoji was, I believe, facing the opposite direction, and I had to flip it horizontally to have my Bitmoji facing this direction. So that's on order. So you see this is a Google slide, but they embedded this video within, and you can play it and it'll work. So this says you can add more themes from Slide Carnival. So this might be nice for you to save as a bookmark right there. Notice that my bookmarks also have folders. and I'm pretty meticulous about putting things in my folders and not having like 5,000 bookmarks, even though obviously I still do. It's an issue. So this is Google Calendar, and you can use it so your students can see when things are due, which is pretty nice. All right, now, if you teach older kids, so like I would say like third grade and up, to me, Google Classroom is like the best thing that ever happened. Um, so I'll show you my Google Classroom, or well, my demo class, I guess, and then you can kind of see what's going on. So Google Classroom is where you organize all the work digitally that you want your students to do. Realistically, for me teaching middle school, I've gone almost paperless. If I can do it online, I do it online. And drag this bad boy over here. So this is about setting it up. So you would, I'll go back and show you. So this little plus dude right here, you can either join a class if somebody has already made one and you want to join their class, and then you'd have to type in their class code, or you create a class and then you come up with something like that. So you would give it a class name, and you can do section and subject if you want to. You don't have to. So then there's the stream, which is basically like where everything is. And I wish there was an easier way to organize this, but you have to get kind of creative in how you do this. I've seen some teachers organize things by week. So they'll come over here into classwork and they'll make an assignment, and then they will add every single thing that you will need for that week in here to all the attachments, and then it's all sitting there for you. But that doesn't like really work for everybody, so you just kind of have to figure out whatever works for you. But again, stream is where everything shows up, so you can leave like comments right here, and put things for your students to see, and that you can have it to where they can respond to you or not. That's up to you. This Meet link is for Google Meets. They have it built in to where you can have a link for your students to jump on Google Meets with you and have a video conference, which again is really good for distance learning. I was excited when they built that in. That's a fairly new situation. So this is old. That's no longer there. So what you do is you come over to classwork and then you click on create, and then you can do an assignment, a quiz assignment, a question, just post a material, which is like, here's this document, if you don't want to attach it to anything else. I do that for sometimes for like funny pictures or things like that to try to, I don't know, brighten up my middle schoolers' lives a little bit because they can be cantankerous. You can reuse posts, and then you can have topics. This is also fairly new. So if you add a topic, it would be like if you want to do like chapters, you could have topics, and then everything would kind of go underneath that topic. That kind of depends on, I think, what you're teaching. You might be able to do that for quarters, maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't really used that option too much. So again, this is old. You're not going to see this, but in this stream, the announcement feature is right here. That's what this is. And then obviously you can see mine is updated and has a lot more options than this. And then we move on to people. So this is where you're going to see your students. So you have two ways to add students. You can either give them this code and then they type it in the way I showed you, where you join the class and then type in the code. This is the code. Or you can add them by hand by typing in their email, which would be their .org. That is kind of a longer process in my opinion, but it can still be done, especially, excuse me, if you get their emails off of Aries first in an Excel document and then copy and paste all of their emails in, you could probably make it happen that way too. You can also add co-teachers. I highly recommend that you do this for your RSP teachers if they ask you to do this, or you can ask them, either way. Sometimes your principal may ask you to do this, and I mean, you can. You can also add them as a student so that they can just see what's going on. But oftentimes they like to be added as a teacher so that they can see the grading side of it, so that they can have things to say to the parents if the parents are upset. So that's kind of at your discretion. And if you co-teach, then you can add teachers there as well. So grades is also a new feature. So when you make a classwork assignment and then you grade it, their grades are going to go over here. And now Google Classroom saves all of their stuff. Now here's my thing. At the end of each quarter, their grades start over. But in Google Classroom, if you don't do it quarterly, their grades do not start over. So their grade in Google Classroom will only reflect their grade as insofar as how it is on Google Classroom. So keep that in mind. Again, this is a little bit outdated. You can select your theme, but it is much more limited than it used to be. It's very, very plain, which is upsetting. But you can upload a photo and use a photo instead. But I mean, you only have this much space, so it's kind of like you just got to do what you got to do, you know? Settings. So this is where you get into this comment situation. The comments are hard because I would say during the normal school year, I have it set to only teachers can post or comment because they do not have control over the kinds of things that they put on there. It's just ridiculous and it becomes like a thing. But for distance learning, I did change it to where students can only comment. Students can post and comment. That would, I think, get hairy regardless. You would have to have like really strong rules for your Google Classroom in order to use that feature. But I had it so that students could comment because that was how I was communicating with most of them. And so I did change it over to that, which normally I wouldn't. And then you can have condensed notifications on the stream or show all the attachments and all the details. I do recommend that you have it on condensed just because it keeps things a little bit cleaner, but that's up to you. You can have it show deleted items. I don't really know why you'd need that, but hey, you know, whatever. Guardian summaries. So I can't show you this because I don't have any students. But basically, when you have a student, there'll be a spot next to it that says add guardian, and then you can type in the guardian's email, and then Google will send them an email that includes the child's missing work, the upcoming work, and then the class activity, so any announcements or things that you have posted. And they can get those emails daily or weekly and can unsubscribe at any time. So that's a lot of my parents asked to be added on during distance learning. So that's something when you start to talk to your families, if we are doing distance learning, which seems pretty likely, you can ask them, hey, would you like to be get emails from Google Classroom as to whether or not your student is completing things, and then you can add them uh, like that. So if you are in the classroom, you can display this code up on like your Promethean board or your smart board or whatever you have. You can display it like this so that they can actually see it and type it in easier. You can also copy, reset, or disable your class code. So this is a student view of their homepage, and they would see upcoming assignments over here and the due dates. I highly recommend that you do have due dates for everything that is an actual assignment. So I'll show you how to do that. So you put the title of the assignment. It is my recommendation that your title is in fact a title and not like the title plus all of your instructions. Teach your students that this is the title and then the instructions are going to go here, and then that way you have a lot more room, and this is also in a smaller font. So that just makes it look a little bit cleaner in my opinion. So then over here, you can pick for it to be in more than one class. This actually came in quite in handy, especially for me because I teach more than one of the same type of class. You can also make assignments for specific students. If I had students in this class, they would be under here, but obviously I don't, so they're not. You can change the amount of points or make it ungraded. This is a nice feature if you're doing like a check-in type thing and it's not going to be graded, but you just want them to kind of check in with you and answer your question. You can do that. Then you have your due date. You pick a day and you can pick a time. I usually go with this option, but you can pick whatever you want. Again, the topic, you can have topics or not. That's something you'll have to play with and see if you like it or not. Rubrics. I have not really used the rubrics, but if you're super into rubrics, that might be something for you to check into. Oh, scheduling. So over here, I can't do it because I haven't written anything, but I guess I'll just, okay, here we go. So I don't know about you, but for distance learning, I don't necessarily want to have to pop up and be on my computer and frantically trying to assign things in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I like to be, have kind of flexibility. So what I did at the end of last year was basically on Sunday night, I would get on here and I would create every single assignment for that whole week, and I would use this. I would schedule it. So let's say I want the certain assignment I'm working on, I want it to come out tomorrow. So, or not tomorrow, but on Tuesday. So I would do Tuesday at 8 a.m. and I would schedule it. Then you're going to be able to see it here, this sample. See, it says scheduled for June 30th. I can see this. They will not. They will not see this until June 30th at 8 a.m. It'll assign itself immediately at that time, and then they can start working on it. That was like the best thing ever. It allowed me to have a lot of flexibility in my timeline. So this is if you want to ask a question and you want them to give you a short answer, or you can do multiple choice. I used this for my quick writes for my English class, or any, whatever I wanted to ask them. And then again, you can do points or ungraded and then give it a due date. And then here's the other thing. Students can reply to each other. This is good if you want them to give each other feedback, But you also need to recognize that your students may or may not take this part seriously. And then students can edit answer. I usually do allow this just because some of them accidentally turn things in when it's not done, and then they're going to email you frantically telling you that they accidentally submitted it but they're not done, and then you have to go and like kick it back to them, and it's like this whole thing. So I would say, unless you really don't want them to change it, do check that box. Again, material, this is just for, see, there's no like grading or anything. It's just for adding. So you can add straight from your Google Drive, which is really, really nice. You can link, which would be a URL from the website or internet, a website. You can do file, which is going to come from your computer hard drive, or you can attach a YouTube video. This is, you can use this, but this is more, I think, for them, especially for the older kids. They can create any of these things within the assignment and it'll attach it directly to the assignment instead of them having to add one of these things from their Chromebook, like the way you would here. So when they're done, it'll say turned in. You might need to explicitly teach them this because so many times I tell them if you don't turn it in, if you don't click on that turn in button, I'm not going to grade your assignment. But inevitably, you're going to have a ton of kids that will attach their document or whatever, and then they're not going to click on turn in because they forget they have to do that part. So if they do turn it in, it will say turned in. It will also say unsubmit. They can unsubmit their work, but it will tell you that they unsubmitted it, like that they submitted it and then unsubmitted it. And then there's the private comment feature. So this comment only your student will be able to see. So this is what it would look like if you added something. So they added a document here. One of the nice things that I'll show you is if you create a document for the students to use, you can have it be a document that they can only view, which means it's just for information. It can be something that they can edit, but you have to remember all the students can edit this one document all the time, which can get very, very messy. Or you can make a copy for each student. So this, whatever document this is, you can make a different copy for each student and it will attach their name to that document, which is a really nice feature. You do have to select this option when you're in this process of making the assignment. Because if you make it and then decide you want to do that and you try to go back to edit it, it won't let you do this. You would have to delete it and make a whole new one. So you have to do this in the first time. This is the multiple choice question. So if you just want to have like a fun little morning question for them, then you can do something like this. So you do have some options in your from here. Okay, so this is something to talk about. So for teaching, for the teaching to do, this is like papers that you need to grade. So anything you need to grade is going to be in here, which is kind of nice. If you're a student, under enrolled, you'll have a to-do list and they can see what they have to do still, which is also nice. Again, you're going to have to teach them about that because they're not going to see it on their own. So you can move these, edit them, copy them, or archive them. So I do archive mine at the end of the year just because, again, digital hygiene. So mine are down here. So you can see all of my archived classes. This is kind of nice because I can go back in to my old classes and look at assignments that I did and copy them if I want to. So this is settings. Obviously, the settings are much different than they used to be from here. I do not like receiving email notifications because you're going to get an email every single time a student turns in something or comments, or it just becomes a lot. So I have that turned off. So moving on to YouTube. I do have my own school YouTube channel. Where would that be? Your channel right here. So this is my channel. I have made a lot of math videos. So I'm using Screencastify right now, this little dude up here, to record my screen. And so that's how I made my math videos. So they can just hear me talking, but they don't see my face because I don't want to see my face. So I would like to continue to show you a couple other things, I think, briefly. So Sheets is going to work very similarly to Excel if you've ever used it. This is nice, especially if you're trying to keep track of information and data. I highly recommend that you use this to make a call log if we are doing distance learning and keep like a running record of which parents you've called, what kind of things that you talk about, or which students you've contacted and things like that, because inevitably you're going to come up to a situation where you're going to need information that you are probably not going to remember, but then you can just whip out this bad boy and be like, look, I called you at this date and this time, this is what we talked about, and they're going to be like, oh, interesting. And that has helped me quite a few times, to be honest with you. Or keeping conversations that I've had with parents, even through Remind, which is what I use, or emails or whatnot. Um, it has, date and time stamps, and that can come in handy too. Google Forms is something I use to make surveys. You can make it like use it to make a quiz too, but it's not personally my favorite platform to make a quiz. I use like Socrative and things like that. But it is nice if you want to make like a end of quarter reflection survey type thing to see how they feel or if they're struggling anywhere or check in or whatever. You can use it for that. So you can do multiple choice, check boxes, scale, short answer, paragraph answer, things like that. And then you just ask the question, and then you have your options. And then you can make it required right here. And then new question. You can import questions from other forms that you've already made. You can add an image to your questions. You can add a video, so you could have them like watch a video and then answer this question type situation, things like that. And then when you give it to them, you're gonna do send, and then you're gonna do probably link would be my guess. And then you can copy the link and then go paste it into Google Classroom or whatever you want. You can also do automatically collect respondents, their email address. This is nice because if you say, what's your name? And then they give you like Elmo, but you have this checked, it'll automatically tell you who did it, which is nice. Again, this is collect email addresses. That's the exact same thing. You can limit them to one response, which I do recommend. So this is the quizzes. So if you make this a quiz, then it's going to give you all these extra features to turn it into a quiz. This is going to show you what it looks like. So this is what they will see, because this is what you see as the editor. And then this is like changing the theme and making it pretty and whatnot. And then again, don't forget to title everything. I have things everywhere. Okay. So the last one I want to show you is sites, but I'm going to show you mine just because it actually has things on there for me to show you. So this is where you can make your own personal website. This is really nice because it allows me to have all of my things on here that I deem important. And you can give this link to your students as well as the parents. This is something I give to them at back to school night. So for math, I have all this information. I have links to things. I have, like this is for Khan Academy. And then I have links to my YouTube channel if they need to watch the videos. I have my math syllabus on here. Okay, shows you my math syllabus. And then my online learning section, which has a couple different situations on here. I came up with my daily expectations to kind of keep them more organized. I like to keep things as simple and consistent as possible in everything. It just helps calm them down. So these are all the tools over here. So Textbox is for things like this. This is a text box. Images would be things like this. Embed would be if you want to have things, it says enter URL. So if you want to have a URL embedded, you can also do it here. So this is where you would attach, see, this has a link to go somewhere. Drive, you can attach things directly from your drive. So that's what this is. This is a document in my drive that is available here because I used this feature. I didn't have to download it and then upload it. I just used Drive and it pops in right there. These are the layouts that I can have. There's collapsible text, table of contents, image carousel. So there's all these things that you can have on here that makes it like really, really cool. Pages. This is where you kind of control how many pages and if they're visible. So like right here, I have an English page, but I'm not teaching English next year, so I have it hidden from view. So then you can only see my math, science, and computer basics because these are the classes I'm teaching. So, and then this plus is to make a new page or to make a link. So these are the themes. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's not a lot of different options. You're right, it's not. But the reason for that is because the internet has rules, ADA rules, as to how websites look in order to be able to be viewable by people that have disabilities, whether that be a visual or auditory impairment. And so they have rules as to the type of font you can use, the colors you can use, things like that. So you are limited kind of in what you can do there. Once you have things updated, you click on publish. If you want to see what your website looks like, you click on this bad boy right here, and he shows you what your website looks like to viewers, not to you, but to the viewers. This is the laptop or regular computer screen version. This is what it would look like on a tablet, and this is what it would look like on a phone. I think that's very nice because basically it may look really good when you're making it, but then if you go on here, which most of them are going to be looking at this on their phone, and it looks all wonky and really bad on the phone, then you're going to have to make some changes. This is where you get the published site link. So this is a published website on the internet and can be found if you Google it. So this is the website, but you can get a shortened version of that link if you go to like a bit.ly type website shortener situation. You can add collaborators so that people can view your website. And then these are your settings. Analytics, if you want to turn that on, that kind of just tells you like how many people come on to your website and view it and things like that. And then you can have an announcement banner. So I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of websites out there right now have announcement banners for telling you about COVID-19 and all that kind of stuff. That's what that would be. The last thing is Google Drawings. This one is really simple and straightforward. It's like Paint, if you remember that. You can just make things on here. I have made buttons for my website. I don't know if I have any more to show you, but I used to have buttons on here. I don't think I have any more anymore, but anymore, but no, I don't. All right, well, I think I have covered everything. The only other thing I think I want to share with you is if you have a student that shares something with you or a colleague or something, that document is going to come up in here. These are things that people have shared with me that are things that I have not made for myself. And then your trash, it will keep things for a certain amount of time. And you can look for things by last opened by me or last modified or whatnot. And then you can empty trash, but I do not recommend that you do that because it does save it for you for a while. All right, thank you so much for attending my little situation here, and I hope you learned a couple things, and I will be available to you if you need help. Have a good one.